much, Leslie, for those really beautiful and powerful poems. I'm looking forward to your new manuscript, too. Next reader is Natalia Treviño. Is a professor at Northwest Vista College in San Antonio and the author of VirginX, Lavando, Dirty Laundry. Raised between two worlds, she bridges understanding between those separated by arbitrary borders. She's won several awards for her writing. Please welcome Natalia.
Thank you. Thank you for being here on this cold, beautiful Sunday afternoon. I was thinking, thank you for that reading, Leslie. That was hard and beautiful, and it reminded me of, why we're writing. Thinking about connecting, and also thinking about the work that writing can do to confront those hard subjects. And one of the hard subjects. This is my first collection of poetry, and it's love stories. I think it's Lavando, Dirty Laundry, and it's love stories from the perspective of different women, including my own. And so I'll read one poem from here, actually maybe two. This is called Draft, and it's to my husband who was diagnosed with melanoma, and he's fine now, but during that time, I wrote this. Draft. I have to say that your organ that keeps you together is becoming a disappointment. It wants to give in to the sun too much, so thin and pink, ready for more melanomas. They take you sure every 3 months to check it, and yes, they cut off the bad pieces, some benign, some not. And of course, new skin comes back, but I am reminded, you see, that this is just a short time we get together, at least in these skins. So we have to figure out a way to keep it going if one of us has to leave, see ya if something really bad happens here in the realm of our palms. I propose something maybe it is crazy, but you can think about it. I mean, you are in no immediate danger that I can see, except for the headaches. They did tell us melanomas like to go to the brain, but I try not to think about that. And your lymph surgery did go well, so I have nothing to complain about, but I think maybe if I take my brown skin off for you and give it to you, I would be okay with that. At least while you headed to the store or something, which they said can be dangerous to your skin, because last time the dermatologist just did say, were you wearing your sunscreen? And I know you do, but that time we went shopping, you didn't. And I could see the sun burning your forehead while we were walking to the car. I was hoping to give you some of my brown skin, you see, so we wouldn't have to worry so much. There are a lot of freckles and moles and spots, and I can't tell them apart. So when the dermatologist told me to sit down at your last checkup, I took it to mean that he did not care if I could spot a bad one. I am sure that is not the case, but I would have liked a little lesson right there with the right light and his eyes teaching mine to look at your skin a bit more like an expert, like he does. I can joke I am an expert of your skin because we both know we have no idea we have what is keeping your skin together or tearing it apart. So why not let's just switch from time to time, or let me do all the extra errands outside and you don't leave the house without my skin, okay? Because really, if I am wearing your skin, it may sag and all, since you are bigger than me, but I can deal with that, since I am just wanting to be in your skin anyway. Wink, wink. It is warm, and I like it. This would just make it sweeter between us, and saltier too, because I do sweat more than you, and we would never fight about whose skin is whose, and I would be good at taking care of your skin if you would let me, and let mine soak up the sun it is already used to. I think for generations, getting ready for something like this, I can't think what else it is good for. Thank you. So I started entering, my second book is VirginX, and I'll read a few poems from that next, but I started entering the conversation with the sacred a while back, and some of the poems in this book are to Mary Magdalene, when I became fascinated by the idea that it was hidden from us that maybe she was the wife of Jesus, And what more reason to keep women out of the church and to say Jesus only chose men as his apostles, even though he appears to Mary in the resurrection, and she's the first witness and the one who told people, hey, he came back. So this is a little bit about Mary Magdalene. This is Sacred Heart. Mary Magdalene wasn't a prostitute, but it helped her it helped explain her hundreds of years after she lived, named Scarlet, hidden under desert sands, gospel secrets, that she'd been loved best by Christ, that she'd calmed apostles and best knew his heart, how drops of his blood cooled in the folds of her hand. But what is it inside the heart of a man, a God, or a law? In medical books that explain the heart, pages show how blockages persist. Women kept from vestments because Christ only chose men. Entire lifetimes halted by the charter of human veins. And without emphasis, passion, or gore, passages tell of the unseen, how a pale gold liquid, camouflaged by all the red, soothes our spent cells in the heart, nourishing the darkest vessels. Mary's mouth kisses buried in the deserts, her secret sediments in perpetual resurrection. So somewhere in there, I was imagining her as I had learned about plasma in our body, right, the gold liquid. So I thought about Mary and the red, being covered by the red, and how we don't acknowledge the plasma that's always resurrecting in us, and it is invisible, and yet so valuable. So I was trying to make a connection there. I don't know if I did. But I didn't realize I would go back to the sacred the next time I really became inspired by poetry. And this image on the cover of my book is the inspiration for the whole book and what will be a full collection. This is a chapbook. And this image, the reason I didn't understand why it was impacting me so much, except that it was an image that took Mary out of the normal context that we see her in, on a pedestal, and it reminded me of my grandmother's house in Mexico, where I grew up separate from her, and my grandmother's activity, which was always sitting on a couch or a bed, embroidering, and crocheting, and I just suddenly was able to grieve her death, because it was very hard to grieve her death, since I grew up away from her. When she did leave the body, I couldn't handle it. She was one of my best friends. She is one of my best friends. So this book is about discovering my grandmother's faith in the Virgin, and also discovering the Virgin for myself. So I found out all these miracles about her, which I want to share with you. This is called Our Lady of San Juan del Valle, San Juan de los Lagos, depending on which side of the border you believe in. So there's a virgin, identical Americanized version of the Mexican Virgin in the middle of Mexico, but the Americanized one is in San Juan, in the valley, here in the U.S. And so this is infinite migrant. She traveled. I first saw you in my grandmother's prayers. Daily, she sat up in bed, whispering to your blue gold image between her thumb and forefinger, her eyes closed, her prayer easy as wind passing through the screen. Oh, Maria Inmaculada, I did not know you were Mary, y siempre bendita, and always blessed. Your gown printed on something smaller than a playing card, not a wilted melt of blue like Guadalupe's, but 2 stone-stiff triangles, each a wing, a sky holding a relief of leaves covering your neck, down to the moon below your feet, a shape that would travel well as a statue across the country, across El Rio Grande, small immigrant going north in a pouch from Michoacán to Jalisco, your body not quite heavy as a book of prayer, or long as an old man's shoe, somehow holy, somehow miraculous, dressed in blue phonetics, a syntax of well-timed roses, you, the original migrant miracle worker. So this Virgen de San Juan is full of miracles, and my grandmother got mad at me when I didn't know who she was. And I said, well, why do you pray to that Virgin and not Guadalupe? And she said, porque es muy milagrosa. And I didn't know that. So this is about my discoveries about that. Next poem in that series is Miracles of Misericordia. After my divorce, I finally listened to the words in my grandmother's prayer, Madre de Misericordia, and I could only hear what my English could unlock, Mother of something, misery. Her back molded in a too soft pillow, her head under an open window. This was her routine after she bathed, windows open in summer, washed, her gold strands of hair curled into upside-down question marks along her neck. Her prayer card filled with blue, your dress, the waxy card of you between her fingers, thin as a threaded needle. I asked her, why do you pray to this Virgin when it was Guadalupe Mexico loved to burn with holy candles, who bloomed roses in winter, who I met hanging in the rearview mirror of every bus and taxi I'd ever taken? Porque es muy milagrosa, she said, scolding me with or without thinking of miracles she'd once wanted. Miracle to end her son's leukemia, to dry out the pneumonia in her husband's lungs, for her own legs to stand again, to hold a broom herself again, and unlock more, sweep dried leaves away, the dust, the dead. 3. So this is migrating La Virgen. O Lady of San Juan de los Lagos, your eyes do not look down at us, half shut. It is your dream, the whole earth you carry above your head, where we do not fight for land, and we do not cross one another or jagged borders with our own travel-sized miracles. Miracle of a bottle of water, miracle of a photograph tucked under a bra, miracle of a sandwich shared, made 3 million times, hundreds of miles away. You want us to swim in the one ocean, El Mar, Maria, your populated effigy, great Mother Earth, as the dream, as the dreamer. I've crossed the Rio Grande 300 times or more with my green card, then my blue card, while other children crawled across pale deserts, hid under helicopters, bridged the two lands in question with their water bottles and work and bones. Madre de Misericordia, Mother of misery, of mercy. The difference between these children and me was the color of our papers. We have papers, my father always said, papers, though I'd asked once if he could tell my mom to please dry my back better after my shower so the kids would stop it, stop saying it, because somehow my back stayed wet all day long. You have the same name as my grandmother's, Maria de Socorro, Mother of Mercy. I am still learning the difference between the prayer and the one who prays. Thank you. I will read one more. It's been a good while. And so one of the things I discovered as I was working on the post about her is, well, things started happening to me. My own miracles, really surprising. Somebody at La Basilica in San Juan said, well, she's calling you. She calls. She doesn't make people do things. And she's, been calling me through Sharon and Bill for years now with our Heavenly Mother. But this Virgen is amazing, and she's calling people all over the world. And I found that there's so many interesting versions of her face, and how we interpret her is fascinating. And then I realized, oh, these are the faces of women who the painter knew. These are the faces of the women who the painter thought were divine enough to represent her. And I realized that I'm trying to do the same thing, that I see the divinity in my grandmother, and it also translates to me seeing the divinity in every human being that I meet. And if we figure that out, we might do some good things in the world. And we become, and this is the last poem of the book, we become a witness. That we make her a compiled human is understandable. Sandro Botticelli had Simonetta Vespucci, his Venus for the birth of Venus, every blonde in the trials of Moses displayed in the Sistine Chapel, the girl, the one whose eyes beg for a kiss in the temptations of Christ, both Flora, goddess of flowers for Christ's sake, and the gazing, camera-hungry, flower-gathering girl in Primavera. Simonetta was crowned Grace, Madonna Magnificat, had himself buried at her married feet when he died. How else to imagine divinity than with the faces we love? It's what we do. Bear the ephemeral, worship what is left. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you to Malvern.